Good day, everyone. Welcome to another edition of this Roaming Pro series that we're doing with the Black Expat. My name is Amanda Bates. As you know, I'm the founder of the Black Expat. And we, over the past few months, have been doing this great series where we've brought on what I would say are professionals in their space who are talking about digital nomad life, talking about careers abroad, all really in the context of being an expat. And so my next guest is someone that I think all of you need to know, because if you are an American, you know you can't get away from taxes. We hate, even if you're in the States, you hate focusing on taxes. So I am so excited to welcome Makara Santiago to the show. How are you today?
Thank you, Amanda. I am wonderful. I am so excited to be here and, give a little knowledge for our expats that's, residing abroad who's, U.S. citizens and or digital nomads who's abroad.
Yeah, no, and I think having you is so important because all of us have questions even when we're living in the States. And so when we're abroad, I can imagine for many people they multiply. I know I had questions. And so, we're going to make sure that in the show notes on YouTube and on our site, they will be able to find you. You recently just joined as one of our expat coaching partners. And so I'm saying that off the bat, whether you're watching it now or you're watching this later on, that you can reach out to Makara to help you at least figure out what's going to get your financial situation straight. Okay. So first question I want to ask is, it's the beginning of the year. What are the things that tax filers really need to have to get ready?
So the one thing about, being a U.S. expat or digital nomad abroad, the tax rules are simply the same if you're living here in the U.S. There is just a couple of caveats that, I will note, when it comes to getting ready for the tax season. So just like the U.S. Residents that's here, you need your basic tax information. So that's such as your income, including your wages, self-employment income, interest and dividends, housing, real estate transactions, Social Security, retirement, all of those things that you need here, just like if you're living in the U.S. The other caveats that I like to make note is when getting all that information, also to include your foreign earned income. So like if you're living abroad and you're making money there, and you're paying housing costs, that is something that you need to notate. And also to keep what I call like a travel calendar. And so a travel calendar is good so you can keep track of your traveling, whether you're in and out of the U.S., because there are certain tax exclusions and credits that you qualify for, but depending on how many, time that you spend outside of the U.S.
So just for my own understanding, especially that category of people who you said like with the travel piece. So is there something to consider for those who are like highly nomadic? Maybe they are 6 months on in a country, 6 months off. Is there anything a little bit different to their situation, or did the things you just say really apply for the most part broadly?
Well, it does apply broadly, but for digital nomads, in the difference, I like to make, digital nomads versus expats. Most
Yeah.
people consider digital nomads who, travel for short times throughout different countries versus setting up, moving, and being completely settled in a different country. So some people will consider nomadic. It's like, okay, I can go in and out of the U.S. and then come into, go abroad in different countries. But the way the IRS looks at it, whether they don't see a difference between digital nomads and expats. So you have
Gotcha.
to reside, you have to be in a country outside of the U.S. for 330 days of the year. So that does not necessarily mean the calendar from January to December year, but continuously for those days, 330 days. So as long as you stay outside of the U.S. or on on foreign soil, then you're
Mm-hmm.
absolutely qualified for some of those deductions and exclusions that the IRS offer.
And I feel like you've already really touched on this because this is sort of my next question. In your experience or what you've observed, are there any special considerations that maybe expat filers may want to think about? I mean, you brought up a really good one, for example, like with housing and kind of keeping those records of maybe some of those tangible benefits that you may get, or that you're paying for and whatnot abroad. But is there any other thing that maybe you might say, hey, if you're in this category, you might want to keep records of this?
Yeah, so one thing that is a difference when it comes to the taxation, like expat taxes, or taxation for U.S. citizens abroad, is the foreign tax credits or exclusions. And so the difference between that, most nomads don't qualify for that credit is because they're normally not in a country that will impose taxes because they move regularly. So the general thumb is to be considered like a residence taxation. So there's different types of taxation. There's citizen taxation, which is mainly really the U.S. is the one that really opposes that type of taxation. And that means
Mm-hmm.
that they will tax you on worldwide income, whether you're living here or not. So as long as you consider a citizen here in the U.S., they will tax you. But then there's residence taxation that in some countries that will oppose if you're in that country more than considerably like half the year, so over 183 days of the
Yeah.
year, and then they will impose a residence taxation. So therefore, once you impose that taxation, which morally geared to those who are expats, is that you want to keep track record of the taxes that you pay in that country. That way that you will able to get your foreign tax credit or exclusion dollar for dollar from the U.S. because the U.S. is going to tax you regardless.
Right. Right. I know many American expats know this, and I know this has unfortunately been a conversation I've seen for years, is that one thing the US is going to do, they're going to tax their citizens irrespective of whether they are in the country or not, which is not necessarily the case for many countries around the world. And it is a contentious point
Yes,
for many expats, unfortunately. But that requires some political will to change it at the congressional level. But yeah, that is that is the thing. And I think especially for new expats who just assume, I mean, I get questions. One common question during COVID when people decided to, can I work remotely from like
mm,
Bali was, hey, do I still have to pay my student loans? And I said, you still owe them. They don't care that you're that you're in Indonesia. So,
absolutely, absolutely. Yes, that was very common during COVID. So there's a few things that I would like to make some considerations. So
mm,
one thing that did change for those who are generally considered expats, a lot of people end up moving back to the U.S. Due to COVID for any type of restrictions that country imposed or whatever that was going on at that time. So that is a consideration. Like I told you, normally it's 330 days that you have to stay, on foreign soil to qualify. But due to COVID, they have made some exceptions
mm,
due to that because they did understand that because of the, global pandemic happened that a lot of people did have to move back to their home country, due to whatever issues that may. So I do
mm.
want to make note that don't be afraid that, oh my God, I don't qualify for these things now because I happen to have to move, back to my home country due to COVID.
And so, and I want to also make it clear, you as much, and we are certainly talking about taxes broadly, and we're talking federal taxes. There are still state taxes you may need to file depending on residency status, and I want to make sure we give some time to that. So, just for clarification, is there anything you can kind of expound upon?
Yes,
You still state taxes if you are in or in this situation.
Absolutely. So, just like the U.S., federal taxes, you still are entitled to pay your state taxes depending on your residence or your home status in the United States. Now, what that means, yeah, you will be paying state taxes. However, there are some states easier than some that
Hmm.
what they will consider is, okay, well, we would not base you or tax you depending on how long you stay away from that state.
Oh, okay.
And there's forms that you can file with depending on that state. And they were like, okay, well, we'll give you this consideration because you're no longer part of this state. You're not making, especially if you're not making any income in that state,
Right.
which is, I'm going to bring on why it's important if you're a entrepreneur on
Hmm.
where you decide to register your business. So some states, such as California, very make it really, really difficult. So that means that if you have a house and you're, renting it out in California, you have to completely like detach everything, all your income and assets, anything cannot be associated with that state. So
No.
for you to be not taxed in that state, there is quite paperwork and it is really hard in some of those states that do not. But other than that, typically you still will pay state taxes
Hmm.
until you make that formalization of you detaching yourself from that state, which is important to look at when it comes to planning. Oh, I'm decided I want to move abroad. It's not, yeah, I can move abroad, but you want to really pay attention to your finances on when it comes to making those decisions, such as what state my business will be registered in, what states that I'm going to be making money in, what is the taxation in the countries that I will be residing in, and how that works. So sometimes people don't really look at that end, and I know it can be very daunting,
Yeah.
but it's very important when it comes to, especially if you're into like building your wealth and making sure that minimize your taxation.
No, that's pretty powerful because I think there are plenty of us who we're doing something and in the process we think about starting a business. So it's very possible you could already be in a different country as an American, maybe because of a partner or a different situation or just a different job. And then you decide, oh, I want to start a business, a digital business, and I want to register it in the US. And so you are absolutely correct. I was on a Facebook group today for podcasters, and someone was asking about registering their business in the LLC, and my mouth almost hit the floor because someone said, um, just so you know, in the state of California, just to register an LLC is like $800, and I said $800 because in the East Coast states that I have registered multiple things, I was like $800 per thing, and I
Yeah.
thought there is. I said, y'all. Meanwhile, there's some states where it's like 50,
Yes.
100,
Yes.
100, maybe 200, maybe.
Yes.
But my mind just blew just thinking, oh, y'all are on something. Y'all better register in Delaware somewhere where
Yes. And that's
better register with some additional state tax. Holler, Florida.
yes, yes. And that's why it's very important to think of those things when you're building your business and kind of forecasting thought process of when what you want to do, where you want to see your business and the financials. And yes, so that's absolutely true. And I'm dealing one of my clients who is in Massachusetts and they pay $500, but it's a year. So that is for her to have her LLC, she's paying that fee yearly. And so you don't want to occur an expense you just don't have to occur.
Yeah, no, you are so right. And that's why I think there's so much planning, especially if you can do it while you're stateside or at least get with a professional like you. I think that completely helps. And so, kind of, as we're talking through this, and I think you started going down this path as a tax preparer and as someone who's seen numbers and accounts and books. What are some of the most common issues that you see? Like I already alluded to people in because they out the country, all of a sudden they don't have the same financial obligations. So what are crazy things people are doing?
Woo! Wow, that's a loaded question, to be honest with you, because there's so many mistakes that people make, whether they're abroad or not. And one of those things is the lack of preparation and organization. So when it comes to, you know, just running a business, it's very important that you properly stay organized when it comes to like your finances or anything, whether you know you have distributions or you're investing and everything. And it's just like you do need to have systems in place to help you keep organized. Another thing is I see a lot of people, they will Google themselves to death on things when it comes to, you know, understanding the information that they need. And when it comes to taxation or even finances, it's not a one size fit all.
Okay.
So it depends on that business. It depends on, you know, the net income or income that business is making to really kind of suffice on how they should be strategic about their finances and places where they put it. But another thing is a common mistake that I see is that those who live abroad that feel that they just don't have to file taxes. And so that is the misconception that you have, regardless of what. If you're making over your standard deduction in any income worldwide, you need to file. And
Okay.
even for those, that's one like working. So if you're an employee, but if you're a business owner, if you make $400, you're required by law to file your federal income tax. And so I see that people, and especially like older, they're getting better, but older citizens abroad, because of the Job Tax Act that happened when in 2017, where it changed some things, where the reporting is much more stringent now. I see that people did not make those reportings, you know, and so they have to now go back and file 5 and 6 and 8 years worth of taxes to get caught up, because the reporting over the years has gotten really tough. But another thing is, not only with filing taxes that they don't do, is also taking in consideration their currency exchange. So it's quite different when it comes to when you're filing taxes. It is based on, in U.S. taxes, the U.S. currency. So just to make sure that, you know, your money is different, you know what I'm saying, in other countries and stuff. So that is something that, you know, I would like people to, you know, take in consideration. It's just really organizing, reporting their income, being transparent about things, even off the besides taxation, but even money in accounts that they have. If they have foreign bank accounts, that if you have a certain amount over the entire year, and which is $10,000, that you have to do FBAR reporting. So that is something that people, you know, will need to understand. And also when it comes to taxation on certain dividends and self-employment taxes, they think that some of the exclusions is subject to that, and that's different. So I do want people to understand there's a difference between federal income tax and then like self-employment tax. So that is totally different. Like self-employment taxes is not included in your exclusion, so your foreign earned income exclusion. Also, another misconception that people have is thinking that they have to have foreign income to qualify for the tax advantages that they're able to. It's not true. As long as you're on foreign soil, it could be a U.S.-based company that you have, or it can, you can earn it wherever it is. You still qualify as long as considered a you're on foreign soil. So those are some of the things that people, quite get confused about when it comes to filing taxes. Also, another thing is it's almost like you better use it or lose it. So some of the credits that you are qualified for, if you decide to not use it one year for whatever reason, like some people decide, like, I'm just gonna go home to my home country for a year or two and then go back abroad. It's very hard to get those credits again. They normally give you like a 5-year penalty, like almost kind of penalizing you for not using it, because it's so advantageous to use those type of credits. If you work with a planner or a person who, financial plans, they can build your businesses in a structure where you don't have to be taxed at all. And so that is very important that you get up with a professional to kind of see how to structure your businesses, because actually being a U.S. citizen abroad can be a tax building strategy. And many people do utilize those strategies. So it's just very important. It can get convoluted, and it can get so complicated, but not to complicate things. Is just really get a professional. Make sure that you're very transparent on everything that you do. If you have to do it here in the U.S. and you live here, you have to do it abroad. So if it makes it simplified like that, I just, to make it simple, just, yes, you have to pay taxes and everything you do.
I'm listening to you talk, and I'm thinking to myself, I think because people get so, this, people get so overwhelmed. We're talking numbers, we're talking finances, and I'm sure as a preparer and as a practitioner, people are touchy about it because they're showing you, it's not something they show everybody. And then I know that sometimes we feel a certain type of way because maybe we didn't keep the best records or we didn't do a certain way. And then it's like, is my tax prepared? It's like when you go to the doctor, right? And the doctor tells you need to lose weight and you step on the scale and the doctor hasn't said anything, right? And you're just like, I already know I'm supposed to lose 10 pounds. I gained 5.
Yes.
Yeah. You asked me what I ate. Yeah, I know. You know what I mean? And maybe I'm projecting, but I think it's the
No,
same
they
thing
really
with
do.
it's the same thing with finances, right? People are like, I'm about to show this person my numbers, and first of all, I may already be feeling a certain type of way about whether I'm making revenue or not, or just even how much income my family is making. And then, because you don't necessarily have a close relationship with that person,
Right.
which is actually good. But then it's also, oh my gosh, you're asking me things that I never thought to keep. And so I want to go back to that point because this is something you said very early on. For people who will be listening to this, and I know we've given this in the context of digital nomads and people running their businesses, but really much of what you're saying applies to just if you're an expat abroad. What do you have recommendations for how people keep their records? Like, I'm sure there are people that do the old school, I got a manila folder, I put everything that's in there, but I know that so many things financially now are digital. Are there tools? Does a good old spreadsheet even work with the receipts? Like, what, as someone who's on the receiving end of someone's tax information, because I try to make it as easy as possible, so this might even just be selfishly for me. What is the easiest way for people to kind of keep these records in a way that makes sense to giving it to someone like you?
Absolutely. So when it comes to record keeping and tools that you can use, if you're looking, you're old school, you're looking for a free tool, I always tell people to do a dump in a folder, in a digital folder of anything when it comes to their income and expenses, and then take maybe every month to break those down and monthly and to drop it into those folders. And that's really okay to do. But if you're looking at something that's more advanced and, kind of take off that work or that load, there are many tools out there that you can use, such as, and I'm going to use this is QuickBooks.
Yeah.
And that's what my company uses when it comes to the accounting and bookkeeping aspect of things. And so with QuickBooks, you can utilize that anywhere in the world with an app. You can, take pictures of receipts. You can link your bank accounts together. That way you can, hey, I just let it automatically do it for me. And then on a monthly basis, take time to kind of organize those. And yeah, spreadsheets work perfectly fine. What I find though, when it comes to spreadsheets, would say, you can utilize those if you want. If you don't want, that's fine. But it's many software and tools that you're able to utilize. And I just say it's just
out of the week and to just go through your filing process and to make sure. So that's one thing that you could do on your own. If not, then you can always, get someone to help you do that for you. Have an assistant to take care of those matters, or hire someone such as an accountant or really a bookkeeper that will keep all aspects of your books. And then your bookkeeper will work with your tax preparer when it comes to distributing that information to him or her.
About QuickBooks, and we heard about, you said you could do the old school spreadsheet. So what I want you to do is actually repeat what you said about what you find, what happens with people using the spreadsheets, and then if there were any tools after that, because we got the second part that you got into. So it's really those tools. So QuickBooks. Okay. So what you said.
Yes. So like I said, for those who you can utilize spreadsheets, and that's absolutely fine. However, what I see that the spreadsheets can get daunting for people, and the building out those spreadsheets, because it doesn't hold all the information that you really need when it comes to your record keeping. It's a great tool to use, like you just want to know, some of your revenue and then some of your expenses or whatnot. But however, if it's, you can't do that, then I always suggest, like I said, using, there's so many different, Gusto, QuickBooks, FreshBooks is definitely those tools that you can utilize, or to, have a professional to take care of those, such as a bookkeeper that will, make sure all of, when it comes to your finances, is taken care of. And then, or hire an assistant that you can, utilize to, dump it in there, and they will organize it for you, which is absolutely fine, which is so easy to do also. But yeah, so when it comes to that, there is so many, it really depends on you as the person, what works for you. If you're a person like, hey, I'm gonna forget about it, I'm too busy or whatever, I always tell people to do the dumping mode, because it's like, that little corner in your room. Sometimes you just throw your stuff in there and then you get to it later. You could do that on, a folder, Google, Drive folder, and then give access to someone that you trust. But one thing I do want to note that you did mention earlier about people, just sometimes being embarrassed, or, they don't know. Don't be embarrassed. The one thing about it, people financials is so different across the board. Yeah. So don't think of it as a negative thing. Think of it as something that is a great thing, that you're allowing someone the access to help you, to take care of you, to make sure that everything is organized. Because what happens if you continue to ignore it, it can really have repercussions. and detrimental, very expensive repercussions. And so that's what you want to avoid, is those repercussions that you can potentially have when you don't take care of your finances when it comes to organizing. And if God forbid, if the IRS do decide to audit you, that your books are in straight and you're able to give them the information that they need. And if you haven't been doing it, that's okay. Start today.
She's like, today. No. And so I think this is a perfect segue as we wrap up. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about your business and what services you offer?
Absolutely. So I am a tax accountant, and my main business is called Legacy Accounting Partners. However, it is in conjunction with Around the World Ledger, and that is my brand for those who are specifically expats, digital nomads, or those who inspire to live abroad. And so we're like that all-in-one financial institution. So we have me as an accountant when it comes to more of the advanced part of things when it comes to your finances. I just so excited and onboarded Alexis. She is another accountant who does specifically with bookkeeping. So if you need someone to take care of your books, and we also take care of your taxes, and that will be me. I will deal with the taxation part of everything. But yeah, that is who we are, and I'm so excited as this business grows, and I look forward to helping those who just have those questions, because like I said, it can be very complicated. It can be hard, misunderstanding. It is so much when it comes to dealing with the taxation, taxes, the US, everything is changing now. It's changing now. So it's so many new things that I'm learning now that things has changed. So, I will just tell people, hey, have someone to deal with that. Take that load off of you. And that's the part of, our business is just for us to take that load off of you and to make sure that you are in compliance to the U.S. tax code.
And for people who are listening in, Makara is U.S. based. She is in Texas, so she's on the Central Time Zone, but of course can help you irrespective of where you are. Where on the interwebs and social media is the best place for people to find you?
Yes. So, if you want to, you can go to our main site, which is legacyap.com, or you can spell it out at legacyaccountingpartners.com. And that will take you to any of our social media pages. And also there's a little link that says expats and digital nomad. It will take you to Around the World Ledger. So if you go there, it will just direct you to everything. If you just don't want to use, you can go to my Instagram, which is MaCara Santiago, and it will direct you to wherever you need to be.
And you can always, once again, like I mentioned earlier, go onto the blackexpat.com to the coaching partner section where her profile is, and it will take you to many of those links. If you missed all of that, you can find her on our website. So, oh my gosh. Well, you know what? This has been really helpful. I'm not going to front. I learned some things. There were some things you said. And I went, ooh, okay. You know what? Let me talk to her offline when I'm ready. But I appreciate you spending time with me and just sharing your knowledge with our listeners. And like I said, you are such a great resource. And so if anyone is interested in working with you, we will have the contact information. They are in plenty of places. If you cannot find it, people are very good about DMing me or emailing me and going, hey, where is that person? But you should be able to find her. So Makara, thank you for spending your time with us today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. And just let's take this by storm all the way around the world. So that's where we at.
I'll do it. No. And I have a feeling with your skill set and with your talent, we're probably going to see you back around again very soon with another live event. So if you're listening in or you're watching this, thank you so much for your time. As always, you can find us at theblackexpat.com, also at theroamingpro.com. Till next time.